Hi, everybody. We're going to go over case study number 1. Actually, I'm excited to do this case study because this case study occurred back a little less than 30 days ago. I got a phone call February 4th, 1998 from a person who I never met before. His name was Eric. Eric had heard about me in the seminar business and said, Mark, I heard that you design presentations and you actually facilitate seminars. I said, yes, I do. I said, what's your idea? He goes, well, I have an idea and I have a service. He goes, I'm in the mortgage business. I said, okay. So what do you do? He goes, I sell money. I said, all right. Sounds like a good product. How many people need more money? Everybody raise your hand. Good. So I said, that's great. He says, but I specifically work with a certain type of buyer. I said, okay. So he goes, I got a target audience. And for some of you, this is going to be a great refresher from everything we've been talking about. So I've got a target audience. And right now, I said, well, let me ask you a question. I said, how long have you been in business? He said, 12 years. I said, that's good. And he's still around. That's good, right? And I said, how are you getting people right now to take advantage of your product or service? And he goes, I run radio ads. I said, you do? And it works? And he goes, yes. And I said, what's your cost per lead, right? How much money you spend versus how much it costs you? He goes, about 10 bucks. I said, wow, that's great. You mean if you spend $100, you're going to get 10 leads? And he says, yup, that's what $10 per lead means, Mark. I said, okay. I'm a little slow. So I said, you mean if you spend $1,000? He goes, yup, it's 10 bucks per lead. No matter how much money I throw at this, it's 10 bucks per lead. And I said, well, let me tell you a little bit about the seminar business, all right? You can't get people in the door for $10, can you, JW? No, because if we could do that, me and JW would not be here right now. We'd be out doing seminars 24 hours a day, okay? Now, you have to be smart about how you do your seminars, and you can make money at it, but what I want you to understand is $10 a lead, that's cheap. So the obvious next question I asked Eric is, out of those leads, how many people buy your service? What are you selling? He goes, I'm selling money. I'm selling loans. I said, well, how many people buy? And he said, well, about 10%. So out of those 10 leads, he's only closing 1. I said, all right. Are you making any money? He goes, yes, I am. I said, well, why are you calling me? He said, Mark, I went to a seminar, a real estate seminar, and I saw there were 300 people in a room. And I thought, wow, if I could put 300 people in a room, I could sell 300 people, or my presentation, give my presentation 3 times a month and to 900 people, and that'd be great. I said, well, there's one little catch, Eric. It costs money to put those people in a room. He said, how much? And I said, well, I happen to know the seminar that he alluded to, and it cost them about $60,000 to get those 300 people in the room. They made money, by the way, but it cost them $60,000 to get those 300 people in the room. And I said, He said, well, what if we were going to do a test? Would you be willing to put a presentation together? Folks, step number 1, if you've listened or watched the previous session, you know step number 1 is what? Create the idea, the concept, create the script and presentation. And I told, this was on the 4th of February, I told Eric, I said, Eric, look, I got to tell you something. If you're looking at doing a seminar, I would discourage you at all costs to do a seminar because of a couple inherent problems you have. Number 1, you're only charging $300 for your product or service. You're only charging $300. He goes, yeah, what's my problem? I said, it's too cheap. You need to charge $500. He goes, Mark, he goes, I'm a lawyer. I'm an investment banker. I can charge whatever I want if I just have to justify it. I said, well, can you charge $500? He said, sure. I said, great. Then charge $500. He goes, done. So I said, okay. I said, the other thing is we've got to put this thing together pretty quick. I said, when do you want to do this seminar? He goes, well, I'm thinking about March 20th, 21st, and 22nd. I said, March 2020, it's like in 6 weeks from now? He goes, yeah. And I said, wow, that's like quick. Why so quick? He said, well, my wife's having a baby here in May, and I got to try this thing before the baby's born. I'm like, okay. I said, well, listen, meet me at the Newark airport. I got a 3-hour layover. I'll see what you, I wanted to meet this guy face to face to see if he was real, okay? So I met him. He was a nice guy. Been in the business for about 12 years. President of the Mortgage Association. He had great credibility. He had great social proof. He'd been in business for 12 years. He was an attorney. Does that create credibility if you're an attorney? That's my only attorney joke, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, that's all I got. Your attorneys out there, hey, I have an attorney. I use an attorney. I tell other people to use attorneys, okay? But what I want you to understand is he had some credibility. He went to law school. He was an investment banker. He had some credibility. He had a track record. And I said, okay, well, what's your budget? What's your budget? And he said, well, I can muster up $30,000. $30,000. I said, well, what would be your break even? Remember that when we went over that? What's going to be your break even? He said, well, Mark, he said, and appreciate where he was coming from. He said, Mark, I charge $300 right now. I said, what are you charging $300 for? He said, a loan application. I said, oh, a loan application. So his product cost is what, ladies and gentlemen? It's a piece of paper, okay? Now, obviously, what he's telling these people is, I can get you the money, and there's some fees involved with that. But all you folks that appreciate buying a home, you know that buying a home is the American what? Dream. Everybody wants to buy a home. His target market are people that haven't been able to buy homes before now. Why? Real simple. They got bad credit, poor credit, non-existing credit, right? They might not have enough money for a down payment. And you know what? They might have erratic work history. So for all those reasons, they haven't been able to realize American dream. And about 70% of the people haven't realized American dream. They buy homes, right? But 30% don't. So he was going after the 30% that don't, but that desperately want to. So I said, okay, great. I like your idea. I like your concept. The challenge is, how are we going to get them in the room? He said, would $30,000 be enough to test? $30,000 would definitely be enough to test, all right? To try to do a couple of seminars and see what we get. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to do is walk you through the case study. The first thing we decided was we were going to charge for this seminar. Why did we decide to charge? Because we wanted qualified people. Qualified people. We decided we were going to charge $10 to have these people come to our seminar. $10. $10. That was going to be the charge. Now, the other thing we decided was that our budget for this seminar was going to be $30,000. $30,000. We decided that where we were going to get this money, does anybody want to know where we're going to get this money? From the production manager. Did you bring me my money yet? No. Not necessarily from the admission fee. We were going to self-fund. I went over self-funding before, meaning what we were going to do is take money from the seminar to go ahead and fund this. In other words, we were going to roll our cash flow over into the seminar. Now, when we decided $30,000 was the number, we decided that that would be a good way to test it. The first question I asked him was, what is your what? Back end. Yeah, your outcome. What is your outcome? He goes, my outcome is to write loans. That's where I make my money. Back end. Back end. So I said, great, fantastic. How much do you make on your back end? He wouldn't tell me that number, okay? But he said it's a lot. So I said, great, fantastic. So all we had to do was how to break even. All I had to do was figure out a way to break even on the front end. Make sense? Because he was making all his money on the back end. So we said, okay, let's charge $500 for a loan application. $500 for a loan application. And that was our number. Step number 2, we did our producer meeting. We decided which media we were going to use. Here's where we first clashed head to head. He was dead set on using radio. I was dead set on using print and direct mail. He wouldn't budge. It was coming out of his pocket, not mine. So I said, all right, I'll meet you in the middle. We came, and the reason why, folks, is because I hadn't had a lot of experience with radio. He spent $22,000 on radio and $8,000 on print. A couple of print ads and a lot of radio. Remember, we're doing this in New York City. So do people listen to the radio a lot? Yes, they do. They listen to the radio a lot. That's what I learned. I learned that radio works better in certain markets than others. And by the way, he had a great number. What was his number? 800 money okay. How many people like that number? Great number if you're in the loan business. Wouldn't you say, Ron? Absolutely. You got to love it. All right? Now, the other thing is part of that, remember the second slide that we talked about when we were going through the casting call? I was going to go ahead and be the presenter. We put together a registration team, and we came up with what our media test was going to be. Remember when we were starting to put together the casting call and starting to do the testing, which is step 3, I believe. Where is it? If you could slide, can I do slide 3? Oh, never mind. Here it is. How do I go backwards? Ha. Okay. Concept. Only have 50 minutes. All right. Well, whatever. We'll figure it out. Get to the point. Okay. We tested the. We tested. What we decided to do is out of that $30,000, we did a $1,000 test, about $1,100 test. Okay. We tested $300 on print and $800 on radio. And all we did was a couple of spots and one ad in the New York paper, and we did pretty well. For our first test, we had about 150 responses. Hey, folks, if we had 150 responses and we only spent $1,100, is that looking like a pretty good seminar so far? That's looking like a real good seminar. Why? Because what's our cost per response? It's less than $10. In other words, see, he was already doing radio. He already had a brand awareness for his product with the 1-800-MONEY-OK. But when we said we were doing a seminar, his cost per lead went down. Because people had been listening to his radio message over and over and over again and say, oh, they're going to do a seminar, I want to go. And we were charging $10 per. So let me do a little quick math here. If in our test, we got 150 responses for $1,100 of media that was running, and we were charging $10 per, are we in a good scenario, yes or no? Phenomenal scenario. You know what that scenario is called? Sweet. That's called profit right away. That's good. That's real good. Okay, and we haven't even sold them anything yet. Okay, let me just go ahead and run through the numbers so you understand exactly what happened at the seminar. Okay, we spent $30,000. Our show-up rate. Oh, by the way, we had 22,750 responses to our media. 22,000 was radio, 8,000 was print. 2,750 picked up the phone, called, and said, I want to go. All right? We used an 800 service that charges about $2 to $3 a call, okay, depending on the length of the call. And I'll go over expenses here in just a minute. The bottom line is we're doing real good right now. But what are we really concerned about? Are we concerned about our responses? Yes and no. We're concerned with how many people are going to show up at the seminar. We decided that we were going to do a 3-day seminar, 2 seminars per day. Okay? So we were going to have 6 presentations. Okay? Now, let me tell you what happened. We decided that we were going to test a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And we found out that out of that 2,750 people that registered for the seminar, only 1,100 of them showed up. But ladies and gentlemen, that's the nature of the seminar business, all right? Out of the 1,100 that showed up, that's a 40% show-up rate, which you can say, is that good or bad? It's just what is. I mean, I've seen show-up rates of 80%. I've seen them as low as 25%. But let me also tell you what happened. Chaos, crisis, and challenge. On Sunday, which was our biggest day, snow was sticking in Manhattan. March 21st, we got hit with a snowstorm. So anybody that was coming to this Sunday seminar had to make a decision. Do I go out of the house or not? Now, luckily, it was in the city. So most people don't drive. They take the subway. So we were lucky. The bottom line, folks, is we saw 1,100 people total in 3 days. And out of that 1,100 people, because remember one of the immutable laws, you got to have a dynamic, well-trained presenter. Remember that? Okay? And that was me. Sorry, I'm a humble guy. Okay? We closed 15%. 15% of the people bought. By the way, this was an untested presentation, so we were still dialing it in, but we got 15% of the people. 165 people came up with $500. Does anybody want to do some quick math on that? That's over $82,000. Is that good? Everybody say that's great. That's great, okay? That's $82,000, $82,500 if you want to be specific, $82,500. Those 165 people put in. I'm going to start a new page on this one, okay? So we got $82,500 in sales for 165 buyers, okay? How much did we make on the gate? We had 1,100 people give us $10 a piece. Simple math, right? $1,100. I'm sorry, $11,000. Simple math, folks. These numbers sneak up on you, okay? 1,100 people gave us $10.
Is that paid at the gate
That's paid right there. In order to get in the seminar, they had to pay $10. Cash, credit card, right there. Well, we captured information ahead of time, but we don't process it unless they show. Okay. So that's $11,000. So everybody do some math with me. That's $93,500 so far in the door. Okay. Now, let me give you some reality here. Not all these 165 people stick. They're buying a house. You understand this? This is a seminar. They're buying a house. So some of them change their mind after the seminar. And our what we call our fallout rate or a cancellation rate was 12%. About 12%. That's 19 people. 19 people said, I'm not interested. We gave them a 7-day right of rescission. We only have to give them 3 days. We gave them 7 days. Okay? Now, what's exciting about this is, in the next 7 days, we picked up 10 more deals, meaning somebody had to say no. They came in and said, you know what, I've changed my mind. So we picked up, I'm gonna start subtracting here in just a minute, but we picked up 10 more deals. That's another $5,000. That's $98,500. Now let's go into expenses. How much did we spend on media? $30,000. Down to $68,500. By the way, remember, this is 3 days, seminars, okay? What else do we have? We had our telemarketers. We paid our telemarketers $10,000. What are we down to? $78,500. Oh, I'm sorry, going the wrong way, huh? Sorry, I get excited. $58,000. We're down to $58,500. Let's go over our returns. We had, let's see, how many returns? We had 19 people return, but 10 people, but we picked up 10 people. Let's go ahead and just take out 19 returns. 19 times 500 is how much? Call it $6,000, right? 6,000. 0, 0, 5, 52,500. 52,500. What do we have as far as other expenses? We had some credit reports that we had to do for people. We had some office expense. We had overhead. We had to pay the registration crew. We had about $5,000 in expenses. How about hotels? Hotels were a large part of our expense because we were in New York City and we were in the weekend and we were in a pretty good time of the season. So we paid an exorbitant amount of money, as we found out, with hotels. We paid $30,000 for hotels. Now, can you say credit cards? Because that's what we used, okay? So we paid $30,000 for hotels. Now, knowing this now, we can dial it in so we can cut some of this cost out because we figured out what we need to do. But I'm laying out what we paid, what we shelled out, okay? But here's the point, folks. Here's the point. That was all of our expenses. $17,500. Oh, by the way, forgot one thing. Had to pay the speaker. Had to pay the speaker. Who's the speaker? Me. And of course I didn't charge him anything, right? Wrong. Okay. I charged him $10,000. So at the end of the seminar, he made a profit of $7,500, but more, forget about the $7,500. What does he have? He has, how many? He has, no, not 165. He's got 159 people that are going to close a loan. Do you know what his back end is on that? And folks, this is why seminar marketing works. His back end, Vivian, is $614,500. Was that a profitable 3 days for him? Can you say Xerox? Now, the exciting thing is I'm getting on a plane here in 48 hours to do it again, and then we're kicking this thing out national. Does anybody have any questions? We've got 2 minutes for questions. I didn't charge him enough. Well, actually, I'm renegotiating my deal to get a percentage of the back end because I didn't understand that, okay? But you see, he's willing. You need to understand something, the concept here. Are you willing to lose money on the front end if you know that your product or service is set up in a structured way that when they buy, that you're going to get this at the end of the rainbow? And by the way, this isn't immediate. It will take him 6 months to get this. But he's already getting some of it. Well, yeah, because the loan's got to close. The loan's got to close. So it might take 30 days, 60 days. Some people are already closing right now, and we're just 30 days out. But is this strong? Is this powerful? JW, in all your years, have you ever seen numbers like this? It's good, isn't it? JW's going, how can I use this? I need to talk to you at the break.
Will you give me the guy's name? I'd like to call it up.
It's powerful. It's very powerful, JW. In 8 years in seminar business, I've never seen anything this strong. And you know what? And by the way, you're going to have to tune in for another tape on this one. But how many products were we selling that day? 1. What if we sold 2, 3, like products? Are there other products that maybe lend themselves to an alliance with that product? Folks, don't ever shut off your brain, because if you do, that's death on the installment plan. Thank you. All right. Okay, what I'd like to do right now is I'd like to pick up where we left off talking about the case study and key in on some specific points that are very powerful, and you need to understand these, because what we need to talk about are testimonials, credibility, and scripting. Because if you're putting all this effort into getting people in a room and doing a seminar, you want to make sure you can adjust, develop, and repeat. And if you remember, that's one of my immutable laws. In order to do that, what I suggest, and I've got a voice-activated tape recorder, I suggest that you tape record all your presentations. And when you do this, what I suggest you do is you create a written transcript of every single word. If you watch any good presenter, if you watch any seminars, or you actually get into the seminar business, what you want to make sure you do is dial in a presentation. So if you take a look at this being the mortgage seminar that we talked about, every single word, well, good afternoon, how's everybody doing? That good, huh? All right, fantastic. My name's Mark Gonsalves. We're going to be talking about a couple of different items concerning your future. When I go and do this presentation here in 48 hours, it's going to be word for word, with the exception of some changes we made or that we are going to test. So what I want you to understand is this document becomes your baseline document for your seminar. This is no different. We've been talking about different types of marketing, whether it's your direct mail letter or your internet site. You have to have a baseline. So this is my baseline. And what this allows me to do is change things in my presentation via tape and print. So I can change some slides or move something around. So one of the things I want to stress is in seminar marketing, tape it, transcribe it, and then change it. Okay? I wanted to bring that piece out. The other thing that I'd like to do is talk about testimonials. We talked about credibility. And for those of you that watch Dr. Paul Hartunian, he talked about credibility and why that's important in testimonials, social proof, so to speak. I'm going to go ahead and give you some of the actual ones that I used, and you'll start understanding why I picked these. First of all, my marketing, or the product we're marketing, is a mortgage product. And we're going after a certain target audience. We're going after people that might not have great credit, don't have enough money, but desperately want to get into a house. And let's face it, getting into a house is the American what? Dream. I love it when a plan comes together. If you take a look at that, this was come from USA Today about 2 weeks ago. It said, the American dream is back. Housing market on an incredible wave. Cover story. The strong economy and low rates fuel coast-to-coast frenzy. What happens in a frenzy? It's like a gold rush. People rush to get it. Everybody wants to own their own home. So here again, this is strong social proof that we would bring out as part of the seminar. Another one that hits the target market is this one. Here again, USA Today Money, Friday the 13th. Watchdog Group finds that 29% of credit reports have what? Errors. Now, Ron, if you're sitting in the audience and you've tried to get a loan before, but you haven't because your credit was not sufficient or adequate, or your credit score was too low, this one would really hit to your heartstring, wouldn't it? And the tie down on this is that, you know, Ron, a lot of our clients have less than perfect credit. But you know what? If you do business with us, we're going to look past that. We're going to look beyond that. We're going to look beyond the score. We're concerned about you as a person. We care about you getting into a home. Now, there's a company I can deal with, not that those other big banks that aren't going to pay attention to me. So here again, social proof. Now, what I just gave you an example these were actual transparencies that would be projected on a screen. What I also want you to understand, though, is don't stop there. When Eric approached me and said, Mark, I want to do a seminar, I said, what testimonials do you have from your clients? And he said, not any. I said, that's the wrong answer. I said, you need to go get some. He said, well, where do I find them? I said, well, call all the people that you've put into homes and you've helped and ask them to write a letter. Now, by the way, feel free to use this point in building your direct mail or building your internet or whatever, any way you market, but you need to get testimonials. So that's exactly what he did. And I'd like to share with you a couple of those letters. First of all, he got people, and this is the way he approached it. He called his clients and said, do you mind if I ask you a couple questions? And they said, no, what's up? And says, well, you remember us. We got you in your house, a couple months ago or a year ago or whatever. How's everything going? Great. Fantastic. Did you enjoy the process? Yes, that was great. Would you mind jotting down, or would you mind me asking you a couple questions? And what